Okay. Alrighty. So, what we got, you guys? Okay, so we're gonna do my best to cover my address here. So we got this from Amazon. I'm super excited. So what it is this. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. You guys, I hope you guys are as excited as I am for me to open this product. So what this comes with is a pre-constructed starter deck. Pre-constructed deck of 50 cards. 200 reprint cards. 3 commemorative promo cards. Like 3 copies of a commemorative promo card. A quick starter guide and a reversible paper mat. So like this is like look at that. Look at that. That is so cool. Like that is so cool. I am so excited for this, you guys. So like a lot of what we're about to about to do is a lot of this stuff is actually like really good. So I'm going to tell you guys, because I don't mind sharing this. I found this for $72 with an import fee, came to $75 on Amazon. To buy this on an actual like card website would have cost me about $100. So I saved about $25 on this. One of the copies of the cards that come in this is like $25 itself. So that copy of that card has pretty much paid for this entire thing, if we were to sell it for whatever reason. So, hell's excited. I am hell's excited for this, you guys. Like, it's going to be good. And a lot of these cards I'm also going to be able to use in decks. Like a lot of this stuff I can use in decks. Like the one card I was talking about, the $25 card, I can use that in a deck 100%. 100%. Alrighty. So, get this opened up. Let's do this. I am super excited for this. Alrighty. So, we open it up. We have our play mat. We're gonna do our best to show this stuff. Like it's not as huge a thing. Oh, that's cool. So we got the field, and then on the other side we have Final Fantasy VII. Very nice. Very nice. I'm gonna actually hang that up on my wall somewhere. I like that. So that's the play mat that comes with it. Very cool. Very cool. And then we have our starter deck. We have our starter guide for learning how to play the game. I really should take one of these to Mario's too if we get new people coming in. We'll keep that nice. But we also get like this cool box, which I think is really awesome. So let's see. Let's pull this stuff out. So this is our 50 card deck that we got. We're going to start off with that. We're going to show you guys the 50 card deck first, and then we're going to go from there. All right. So in the 50 card deck, we have, let's see. Then the other thing I like about Final Fantasy cards is that the decks, they're so easy to open. All right. So we have 3 copies. Oh gosh. The only other thing I don't like about Final Fantasy cards is how easily they stick together. Alright, so we have 3 copies of this Squall. It is a 3-drop, 6,000. There we go. It's a 6-drop, 3-drop, 6,000 with haste. Seed candidate. When it enters the field or attacks, choose 1 forward. It gains plus 2,000 until the end of turn. And at damage 3, when Squall attacks, choose 1 forward. It gains. This forward cannot block. And at the end of the turn, until the end of the turn. Hold on, I just want to. Is that like that? There we go. That's a little bit better. All right. Then we're going to get into 2 copies of the Cloud. This is the Opus 8 Cloud. He's got the Kingdom Hearts design, which is really cool. He's a 5-drop 9,000. When Cloud enters the field, choose 1 forward. My opponent controls deal it 3,000 damage and 1,000 more for each point of damage I have received. When Cloud is put from the field into the break zone, I can remove it, the top 10 cards of my deck, from the game to put Cloud back into play. Then we have, so sticky. We have 3 copies of Dataluma. Martial Artist. When Dataluma enters the field, Dataluma deals you 1 point of damage. At damage 3, it gains Brave and becomes dull by cannot become dull by my opponent's abilities or summons. Then we have 3 copies of only 2 copies. 2 copies of Sage. It's a 2-drop fire backup. When it enters the field, I can choose something and give it haste. We have 3 copies of Vivi from Opus 3. It's a 2-drop red backup that says when it enters the field, choose 1 forward your opponent controls, deal it 5,000 damage. We have 3 copies of the Opus 8 common Black Mage. We've already gone over that in one of our other videos. We have 3 copies of the Opus 2 rare Belias the Gigas. This card is actually really good. It still sees a lot of play. It's a 2-drop fire summon. Choose 1 forward until the end of turn. It gains plus 1,000 power, haste, first strike, and I get to draw a card. This is also an EX burst, so it'll work if you take it as damage too. And then we have 2 copies of Bahamut EX. 4-drop fire summon. Choose 1 forward, deal at 10,000 damage. Bahamut deals you 1 point of damage. EX bursts that I put into the damage zone are not activated on that. If you are at 6 and you do this, you automatically lose, so be careful. It's an EX burst as well. Then this is Fire Water, so now we're going to get into the water element. We have 3 copies of this Promo Yuna. Remove 4 cards in the break zone from the game. Choose 1 forward, it loses 2,000 power until the end of turn. And then I can dull it, choose 1 forward until the end of turn, it loses 2,000 power for each forward I control. Really good card. The 3-drop too, which is nice. And then this is where we get into the excitement, guys. So we got 2 copies of the Opus 4 common Viking. It's a 3-drop. When Viking enters the field, draw a card. When Viking leaves the field, draw a card. Then we back that up with 3 copies of Lilia from Opus 6. When she enters the field, I can just choose 1 card named Viking, cost 3 or less in my break zone, play it on the field. So we can play a Viking, block with the Viking, play Lilia, bring that Viking back, draw a card, block with it again, draw a card. Vikings are fun. The deck that I've wanted to play for a while. Then we have 2 copies of the Opus 9 Legend Zidane. If you have 6 or more cards in your hand, Zidane cannot be blocked. Zidane deals damage to your opponent. When Zidane deals damage to your opponent, draw 2 cards. And then for his Solution 9, for a copy of himself, a wind and a water, choose 1 forward until the end of the turn. It loses 2,000 power for each card in your hand. Good card. Following it up, we have 3 copies of Porum from Opus 8, Opus 9. When Porum is put from the field in the break zone, choose 1 summon in your break zone, add it to your hand. You can combo this up with the Leviathan and constantly be recycling summons and Leviathans. The one that we have only 1 copy of in our main deck. And then we have 2 copies of the Opus 10 Legend Ash. Princess. At the beginning of the attack phase, select 2 of the following 4 steps. Draw a card, then discard a card from your hand. All the water forwards you control gain 1,000 power. Choose 1 character, activate it. Choose 1 forward, cost 4 or less. It loses abilities until the end of turn. Really good card. And then we have 2 copies of Ico. When Ico enters the field, I can search for a category 9 forward and add it to my hand. We could theoretically run this in our Dragoon deck and use it to search out Freya, but it would only search Freya, so it'd be kind of pointless. 3 copies of Brane. She is an Opus 4 common. When she enters the field, I can search for a job standard unit forward and add it to my hand. We could use this to search for Dragoons if we wanted to keep the water element in our deck. Another way to get Dragoons. And then we have 3 copies of Merob. When it changes the field, search your deck for a water forward, add it to your hand. And rounding out, we have 3 copies of the of this promo Lightning. When Lightning attacks, choose 1 forward other than Lightning and may return to his owner's hand. For 1, put 2 cards from your deck into the break zone. Top 2 cards from your deck into the break zone. Choose 1 forward, dull it, or activate it. You can only use this ability once per turn. So that's the deck. That's just the deck. Like, that's really, really good. I'm super, super happy with that. And then we have this. Like, look at these cards. There is so many cards here. We're going to be able to use this to fix up so much of our stuff, you guys. It's not even funny. I'm so excited. So, we're going to do this in... We're going to do this in phases. So, we're going to actually just separate them all based off their typings. And then we are going to go from there. So just give me 1 second. Like, the amount of value you're getting off of this is ridiculous. Ridiculous, you guys. All right, this is taking longer because these cards do not like to stay. These cards love to stick together. And it is hell's annoying. Okay, I think we got everything. I think we got everything, you guys. Yes, we do. All right, so we have separated these. We're going to do them in... All right, here we go. Are you guys ready for this? So starting off with the fire elements. We have 3 copies of Lebrow. Each the fire forwards I control gain 1,000. We have 3 copies of Mont Blanc EX from Opus 4. When Mont Blanc enters the field, you may search for 1 card named Marsh and add it to your hand. Choose 1 forward, deal 2,000 damage for a fire and a tap. You only use this ability if you control Marsh. We have 3 copies of Sylphie. She can search for, when she enters the field via EX Burst, or you're playing her, she can search for a seed candidate and add it to hand. We have 3 copies of Meath. When Meath enters the field, I can discard a card. If I do, search for a card with the same cost and add it to hand. 3 copies of the class 2nd Moogle. He produces Ice CP as well. And 3 copies of Marsh. If you control 2 or more FF Tactics Advanced characters, the cost required to play him is reduced by 2, so he becomes a 3. When Marsh enters the field, choose 1 category FFTA character of cost 3 or less in your break zone, play it on the field. Good stuff. Now we move into the Psychic. And by Psychic, I mean Lightning. I don't see purple and automatically think about Psychics like Pokemon. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. So we have 2 copies of Golbez. This is the Opus 1 Legendary. When Golbez is put from the field in the break zone, you may search for up to 4 forwards, cost 2 of each of a different element, and play them onto the field. Their auto abilities will not trigger. We have 2 copies of Fusuya. He is from Opus 9 Legend. The cost required to cast your summons can be paid with CP of any element. When he enters the field, choose 1 forward your opponent controls, reveal the top 2 cards of your deck, deal it 1,000 damage for each CP required to cast the revealed cards, add all cards to your hand. So that's really cool. I like that. I get a little bit more in the middle here. We have 3 copies of Lulu. This actually makes me mad because I just picked up a bunch of these. Lightning forwards I control gain 1,000. We have 3 copies of Gramus. He is a 3-drop lightning backup. When he enters the field, I can search for 1 category 12 card and add it to my hand. We are running 3 copies of Exodus the Judge Soul. He is a 4-drop lightning summon. Select 1 number your opponent reveal. Your opponent selects 1 number. Break all forwards of cost equal to either number. We have 3 copies of Freya. We love Freya. We know what Freya does, you guys. You guys have seen my Dragoon video. Really good card. We have 3 copies of King of Bermesia. You guys know what he does. Searches for Dragoons. We have 3 copies of Illua from Opus 5. She has haste during each turn. When Ilya is chosen by an opponent's summons her abilities for the first time, I can cancel this effect. And her ability for a discard of herself, I can activate all forwards I control. They gain haste until the end of the turn. And all forwards my opponent controls lose 2,000 power till the end of the turn. We also have 3 copies of Sid of Clan Gully. It is a 3-drop lightning backup. When it enters the field, search my deck for a category FFTA 2 card and add it to my hand. Forward. Then we're running 3 copies of Seymour. When Seymour enters the field, I may search for 1 summon and put it on top of my deck. Reveal the top card of my deck. If it is a summon, I can cast it without paying its cost for a discard of Seymour and 2 lightning. That's a really good card. We have 3 copies of Kane. This is a different Kane. This is from Opus 9. It's a hero. It's a Dragoon still. With 8,000 power, it's an 8-drop. But before paying the cost of Kane, I can put 1 active lightning backup you control into the break zone to reduce the cost required to cast Kane by 5. When Kane enters the field, choose one forward opponent controls that loses 8,000 until the end of turn. I'm contemplating playing this over the Kanes we have in our deck. I'm thinking I'm going to get more value out of it. And also with Glauca on the field, this Kane is now able to be dropped for 2, which is fantastic. We have 3 copies of Bahamut Zero. Bahamut Zero is an Opus 9 hero card, really good card. It's a 6-drop lightning CP. Choose 1 active forward my opponent controls, break it, dull all the forwards my opponent controls. Really good card. Then we have our Class 6 Moogle, makes water CP. We have Aldo from Opus 10 Common. When he enters the field, search for a lightning forward, add it to my hand. I might actually run these in not Dragoons, but my Scion deck, because we do run a lot of lightnings in Scions. Moving into Earth. Earth is where the money is in this. Like I'm not even kidding you guys. Earth is where the money is in this. 110%. And we will show you why here right now. So, in the Earth category, this is the money area, you guys. This is the money area. So in the Earth category, we have, oh, it's only 2 copies. It's still a good card. 2 copies of Shantado. This card currently runs at about $25 American. So to get 2 of them pretty much pays for the box. It's a 7 Earth backup. If Shantado is on the field, Shantado gains elements fire, ice, lightning, water, earth, and wind. And then when Shantado enters the field, I can remove all the forwards from the game. So if my opponent has a full field of forwards and I don't have any and I play this, instant good stuff for us. Then we're also running 2 copies of Grabaneth. I think this card is also worth quite a bit of money too. So he is a judge. When he enters the field, I may search for 1 forward to cost 5 or more and add it to my hand. If I receive 6 points of damage, he has plus 3,000 in Brave. And then sentence for a discard of himself, I can choose 1 forward, deal it 3,000 damage, and 1,000 more damage for each damage I have received. Really good card. Then we have 3 copies of Anna Cross. She is the backup that gives plus 1,000 power for Earth CP cards. Then we have 3 copies of the Opus 1 Titan. Choose 1 forward you control, dull it. It cannot be broken this turn. We have 3 copies of the starter deck, Final Fantasy VII starter deck, Jessie. When she enters the field, I can search for a category 7 forward and add it to my hand. Then we have 3 copies of the Opus 3 rare Rydia. When she enters the field, I can search for a summon and add it to my hand. Then we have 3 copies of the Opus 4 rare Hecatonier. Both me and my opponent choose 1 forward we control. Each forward then deals damage equal to its power to the other. I used to run this in my very first Scion build, and when you do this with an Ida, it's hilarious. And we have 3 copies of Star Sybil EX. One Star Sybil enters the field. I may search for one category 11 character other than Star Sybil and add to my hand. Put Star Sybil into the break zone. Play 1 forward, cost 6 or less from my hand on the field. You can only use this ability during my turn. So we could use that to play any of our 6 drops, which is fantastic. We have 3 copies of Epitaph from Crystal Chronicles. When he enters the field, I can search for 1 Crystal Chronicle category forward and add it to my hand. We also have 3 copies of Kolka. When Kolka enters the field, I can search for 1 Earth forward and add it to my hand. He's a 4-drop. Then we have another huge card. 3 copies of Mist Dragon. Mist Dragon is from Opus 9. It's a hero card. I can select one of the following 3 actions. Choose a summon of 5 or less, cancel its effect. Choose 1 forward you control, dull it during the turn. If it is dealt damage, it becomes 0. Remove all cards in my opponent's break zone from the game, draw a card. That is really good. That is a really good card. Especially if they have stuff that they can bring back from the discard a lot. Really good card. Then we have our 3 copies of our Moogle for Earth, which lets us produce Lightning CP. Then we have 3 copies of Larkikius. I always mispronounce this name. When he enters the field, I can choose 1 monster in my break zone, add it to my hand, and then for 2 Earth and tapping him, I can search for 1 monster and add it to my hand. And then we have 3 copies of Kusith. Choose 1 forward or backup in my break zone, add it to my hand. The Earth is where the money is in this game, because I know Mist Dragons are like $9 American, and we got 3 of them, which is amazing. And then we go into Ice. So we have... Ice is actually where I'm really excited for. We have 2 copies of the Opus 6 Legendary Renoa. When Renoa enters the field, choose 1 forward other than Renoa you control, remove from the game. Then play 1 forward onto the field, dull. Renoa is a good card. I am very excited to have her finally. Then we have 3 copies of Argath. When Argath enters the field, your opponent discards 1 card from their hand. He's a 2-drop forward, 3,000. We have 3 copies of the Opus 1 Rare Sephiroth. He's a 5-drop ice forward. Has first strike. When he enters the field, each player discards 2 cards from their hand. 3 copies of Duke Larg. You guessed it. He is the Ice 1000 booster for ice forwards. We have 3 copies of Moogle III. This is from the first Final Fantasy 13 starter deck. Search my deck for a category 13 forward, add it to hand. We have 2 copies of the Jill Nabah from Opus 2. 2 CP ice backup. If a forward you control is dealt damage by a backup, the damage becomes 0 instead. We have Geshalian Empire Sid, a 3-drop backup. When he enters the field, I may search for a category 6 forward and add it to my hand. We have the Sid from World of Final Fantasy. This one is a 2-drop backup. Cannot be broken. Tap, put Sid into the break zone. Choose 1 monster of 2 or less in my break zone. Play it on the field. You can only use this ability during my turn. Then we have 3 copies of Gladys Yabola. Choose a 2-4. Select 2 of the 4 options. Your opponent discards 1 card from their hand. Choose 1 forward, dull it. Choose 1 forward, freeze it. Choose 1 dull forward, deal it 7,000. This is very much like the Lightning Ramo, which is some very similar stuff. Then we have 3 copies of Yasale. When she enters the field, I can search for 1 ice forward and add it to my hand. And we have 3 copies of the Opus 9 hero Hurdy from Tactics Advance 2. When he enters the field, I can reveal the top card of my deck. If it's a character, add it to my hand. Put Hurdy into the break zone. Choose 1 category Tactics 2 forward in my break zone and add it to my hand. We have our Moogle. We only get 2 copies of this Moogle, which is really odd, unless I messed something up. I did. Ignore me. Then we have our Moogle for ice, producing wind CP, which is silly. Then we have 3 copies of the Opus 10 Rare Terra EX. When Terra enters the field, you may search for 1 ice summon and add it to my hand. And then I can pay on ice and tap Terra. Put Terra in the break zone, cast 1 summon of 4 or less from my hand without paying its cost. Then we have three copies of Nagmolada. When Molada enters the field, search your deck for one monster and add it to your hand. So, man, we're getting some value out of this, you guys. If you guys haven't picked this up already, I would 100% suggest it. Definitely worth the money. Definitely worth the money. I would 100% suggest it, you guys. 100% suggest it. So getting into the wind, we have 2 copies of the Opus 5 Legend Diablos. Choose 2 of the following 4 options. Choose 1 4 to cost 5 or more, break it. Choose 1 4 to cost 4 or less until the end of turn. Its power becomes 1,000. Activate all forwards you control. Activate all backups you control. This is a really good card. I now have like 5 of these, but that's okay because it's a really good card. This was one of the cards that I was super excited to get my hands on. The Opus 5 Legend Yashala. If Yashala is dealt damage by summons or abilities, the damage becomes 0 instead. Put Yashala into the break zone, choose 1 summon or auto ability, and cancel its effect. Good card. We also have 2 copies of the Opus 6 Legendary Zidane. He's a 4-drop. Zidane cannot be chosen by your opponent's abilities. When an opponent discards a card from their hand due to your summons or abilities, choose 1 winning character, activate it. When Zidane attacks, your forward reveals its hand. Select 1 forward from their hand. Your opponent discards this card. Zidane do be doing Zidane things. We have 2 copies of the Opus 11 Legend Ritz. If you control a category Tactics Advance forward other than Ritz, Ritz gains plus 1,000 power and haste. When Ritz attacks, choose up to 3 backups you control, activate them. Ritz cannot be blocked at damage 3. The full arts are a little bit hard to read, and I'm a little unfamiliar with what these cards do. Then we have 2 copies of Maria. Maria is a great card. So Maria says the forwards you control gain 1,000 power. It doesn't matter their type. The forwards you control gain 1,000 power. That is very good. We have 2 copies of Asura. Choose one of the following 3 options. Choose up to 2 forwards, activate them. Choose up to 5 backups, activate them. Choose 1 character cost of 2 or less in your break zone, add it to your hand. We have 2 copies of the Opus 3 Azana. So it lets you search your deck for a job Chocobo or a card named Chocobo and add it to hand. We have 4 copies. That seems like an error. Okay. Let's double check that. We have 4 copies of the Opus 3 Rare Hero Zidane. When Zidane enters the field, your opponent reveals their hand, select 1 card from their hand, your opponent discards this card. If your opponent has 2 or less cards in their hand, Zidane gains plus 4,000. I got 4 of those. That seems like a misplay. I'm not complaining. It's a good card. We have 3 copies of the Opus 4 Common Cactar. It's a monster card, 1 CP. Tap it, choose 1 forward, deal 1,000 damage. For 2 of any CP, 1 win CP, and tapping. Put Cactar in the break zone. Choose 1 forward. Deal at 10,000 damage. Cactar deals 1 point of damage. Deals me 1 point of damage. And EX bursts I put into the to my damage zone from this effect cannot use their abilities. We have 3 copies of Semelafia. The grass backup. To the grass. Wow. Pokemon player. Let's go. The cost required to cast Star Sybil is reduced by 2, which is really awesome. And then for 2 wind and a 1 of any kind, I can choose 1 forward, deal it 1,000 damage. Norshalin, we already know what Norshalin does. Searches for a category Crystal Chronicles backup, adds it to my hand. Then we have 3 copies of Unsaganashi. Put it into the break zone. Choose 1 forward. I control it cannot be chosen by your opponent's summons or abilities. At damage 3, I can put it in the break zone. Activate all forwards I control. They cannot be chosen by my summons or abilities this turn. Good card. Then we have the Opus 10 Rare Echo. 3-drop backup. Search your deck for 1 Mobius character forward and add to your hand. We have our Moogle for this typing. It produces Earth CP, which is silly. And then we have 3 copies of Chocolat. Chocolat's a job chocobo, which is cool. Chocobos. You know how much I love chocobos. Put 1 counter on Chocolat. Remove 2 counters from Chocolat to draw 1 card. You can only use the ability during your turn, only once per turn. So you can tap her, put a counter on her. She comes up. You can tap her again, put another counter on her, remove her, tap her, draw cards. Really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. Then we're rounding out our water types. Now, this is really cool, too, because we got 2 copies of Minwoo. Minwoo, I'm actually thinking about putting into my Dragoon deck. Maybe my, what's it called? My FFX Guardians, my 10 Guardians. I'm thinking about putting Minwoo in my 10 Guardians. If forward you control is dealt damage less than its power, its damage becomes 0 instead. We have 3 copies of our Opus 1 Rare Summoner Yuna backup. The cost of a water summon is reduced by 1. We have 3 copies of our Waka. He is our water forwards, gain plus 1,000 power. We have 3 copies of Famfrit. Each player selects 1 forward they control, put it into their break zone. We have 3 copies of Lenora. When Lenora enters the field, search for a Palom or Porum, add it to my hand. And rounding it out, we have our Moogle. We make Fire CP. Good stuff. Good stuff. And then rounding out, we have 3 foil copies of Tidus and Yuna. Tidus and Yuna also count as Yuna and also count as Tidus for all situations. The category anniversary forwards you control other than Tidus and Yuna gain this forward can attack 3 times in the same turn. We don't have any other anniversary forwards, so it is what it is. And then we are rounding out with 3 copies of Cosmos. Cosmos can be played on the field even if you control another light character. You can play 2 or more light characters on the field. If Cosmos is on the field, Cosmos can produce CP of any color. And then we have the same thing for Dark Element. We have Chaos. Chaos says can be played on the field if you control another dark character. I can play 2 or more dark characters on the field. Chaos is on the field. Chaos can produce CP of any type. The important thing to remember with these 2 is that if you have a bunch of light characters, so like say for example we're playing Cosmos in a deck where we're running this Lightning and Oracle of Light. The Oracle of Light for Scions. If Cosmos leaves the field, we have to get rid of one of those forwards, one of those cards. The only exception to get around that would be Princess Sarah, because Princess Sarah, as soon as she chooses an element, she becomes that element. She is no longer light affinity. So that is an amazing, amazing collection, you guys. Like, I am very happy with that. We got a lot of good cards. Like, we got a lot of good cards. Like, I am over the moon. I cannot wait to make more decks. Guys, I have an addiction. I have an addiction to building Final Fantasy decks. I don't know what to do about it. I don't know what to do about it, you guys, or if I should even do anything about it. I might actually keep this deck together, the deck that came with the anniversary collection, and see if anybody wants to play it next Sunday. But guys, like this, I love this. I love this game. And speaking of Final Fantasy, you guys, if you guys type in !YT, Nightbot will take you to my newest YouTube video. It's actually 2 videos. I mean, they're 2 separate links. So it's actually 2 separate videos. What it is round 2 and round 3 of our last Final Fantasy TCG tournament. The one that just happened this past Sunday. So if you guys check that out, you can go and watch Blake and Frank play in round 2 and Digger and Frank play in round 3. So Digger was playing Sky Pirates and Dancers. Blake was playing Turks, because that deck is really fun with some like flavorful ice stuff going on. And Digger was playing a really cool summoner deck, which is actually we got a lot of cards in this thing for said summoner deck. So I might actually look into what we're missing for that and see if we can build it. But guys, like, we got so much stuff. I am so excited. I've been thinking about adding. So if you guys know, I have a throne wish list. Is that it? Yes, it is. I have a throne wish list. Like with everything else we do, you guys should never ever feel required to purchase anything on it. Never ever. But if you guys want to, I've been thinking about adding in more Final Fantasy stuff. Like, I don't have any card. Like, I only have a couple of card games stuff on here. Oh, apparently that one's unavailable now. That's upsetting. I've been actually thinking about adding in some Final Fantasy stuff to it. But again, like everything else, Final Fantasy TCG stuff, but again, like everything else, you guys, that stuff is never required to hang out here. It's just something cool. If you guys want another way to interact with your favorite streamers, another way to support your favorite streamers, you can go show them some love with that. I know a lot of fantastic streamers have it, like Songbird. There's a bunch of others, but I can't think of their names offhand right now. But Songbird is definitely one of them. Chris Killens, I think Pink Birders has it, but don't quote me on that one. But yeah, so that's it. That's a ton of value. That is a ton of value for $75. Like, I'm curious now. Let's switch to another video, another screen. We'll go to TCG player. We'll go to TCG player and see. I'm very curious now. Also, I didn't switch my category from Final Fantasy 14.